microdose, yeah, microdose, 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 dose, microdose, microdose, dose, microdose, microdose, dose.
What's good, y'all? Kush Hayes here, coming to you, episode 76 of the Microdose. It's a special schedule this week. Society has reopened up, and as you are listening to this, as this downloads onto your mobile device, I am currently inhaling exhaust fumes at the NHRA in Sonoma, California. Maybe Sonora, California. I get the two mixed up, and they sound so similar. But helping me rush this weekend's project, Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer Jaimel Hemphill. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, my man? Doing great. Fine afternoon on a weekend when we're recording this, and yeah, limber and ready to talk about some cool shows and movies.
Yeah, man. Now, I understand you haven't seen the Space Jam 2 yet. Have you seen the original?
Oh, yeah. The original, big fan, obviously, of the soundtrack. But I have not seen the new Space Jam. Sometimes you got to realize something's not being made for you. And I don't think the new Space Jam is being made for me. So my daughter has seen it, and if she chooses to see it again, I'll watch it with her. But it's not something I'm going to seek out because I just don't think that one's being made for me.
It's definitely not made for you, a man in his 40s.
Yes.
So my feelings on Space Jam 2, when it was always just whispers and rumors, and LeBron wants to make a Space Jam. It's like my attitude about it was why couldn't he just make a different movie or do something else? Like, I thought it was one of those projects that were just never going to get made, and for a long time it was looking like that. Like it was going to be like the next Bill and Ted 3, where it's just like, they want to do it, but they just can't get it together. Right. And I think this one actually had help with the COVID. Finally, like, everyone's schedule's wide open. We got the green screens back here. Let's rock this out. Having said that, it is 100% what it promised you. There's a lot of questions, but why would you bother taking the time to ask them? I'm seeing a lot of people online like just hating on the film. And it's like, you're a 30-year-old person with no children. What did you think you were going to see? This isn't fine art, first of all. I see people saying, like, just because it's a children's movie doesn't mean it can't be a bad story. Like, actually it can. Yeah, this movie is for 8-year-olds. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'm just worried that, LeBron doesn't deserve a lot of the Jordan comparisons. Like, people compare, I mean, it's one thing to compare them on the court and their sports accomplishments, but it seems like everything this guy does, they compare it to Jordan. I'm like, why would you make the one movie that Michael Jordan made? Like, don't do that. You're inviting the comparisons, and nostalgia's gonna win every time. Mm-hmm. It's gonna win every time. Like, Space Jam, viewed now, isn't necessarily that great of a movie.
No,
it's not.
I watched it last night, and I was just like, this is still a funny cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. It's pretty good, but it's not great. Jordan can't act. I think LeBron actually is a better actor than Michael Jordan. Probably because he grew up in the limelight, and he's been forced to be on TV a lot more than Michael Jordan ever was in terms of actually, trying to entertain people on TV. He's done a lot more interviews. He's done a lot more behind the scenes stuff, right? Like he's done it since he was 18, whereas Michael Jordan took him a while to become the icon that he was. So I think, he's a better screen presence. I'm like, why would you waste that on Space Jam? Like, do something different. I don't know what it could be, but do something different. Like, do a like Mike, do a like LeBron then. Like, don't do, because you're definitely going to be better than like Mike. Don't do something that holds a special place in everyone's heart. Like, I haven't seen the movie, but I guarantee you people are now going to start making comparisons. It invites comparisons, and it's like, you've been trying to avoid that your whole life. You should probably stop that.
I think he invites it. I think he welcomes it. And I think he enjoys it now because he has actually a couple more accomplishments than Michael does. But what's missing from the new Space Jam is, you mentioned it right off the top, the soundtrack. There's no soundtrack to this. Like, the original Space Jam soundtrack, it is a product of its time. Like, you get that hot Atlanta beat at the beginning that is no real place, but I'm still just like, all right, let's get up and jam, y'all. It's the Space Jam, y'all. All right. The negative reactions that I'm seeing online are ridiculous, to the point of where, like, I knew I was gonna be in danger if I stuck my finger in the light socket but then I stuck my finger in the light socket and I got angry that it was dangerous. It's anyway, not a terrible movie. It was much better than I thought it would have been. It needs to be 25 minutes shorter. Yeah, they try to like create characters, which is nice. We just want to see Looney Tunes and slam dunks, and that's it. All right, let's not get too complicated here.
Yeah. See,
Marvel's had a big month.
Yeah.
No Bill Murray. That's disappointing.
Yeah.
No
anyway.
Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I almost wanted to spoil something for you just because I don't know. Yeah,
I'll be okay. I'm probably not gonna see it. I'm probably not.
There's a Jordan cameo.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a fun scene.
Oh, okay, cool. I'd heard something about that.
That's as much as I'll say because I was just like, they didn't do that. All right. Marvel had a big weekend. Big, I guess, big month actually. People have been digging the Loki. Black Widow just came out as well. Have you seen both of them? Do you like both of them?
I've seen both. Black Widow was a fine movie about a family reunion, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. Loki, I think, actually is by far the best of the Marvel shows because it's intrinsically immersed in the story, the overall arcing story. I think we now know that Loki is going to have a second season, so it allowed them to be really exposition-y and not have to wrap up the story like Captain America and the Winter Soldier. We had to get the resolution of Sam becoming Cap. We needed to do Captain America. WandaVision was about Wanda's trauma, so by definition, even if you got a second season of WandaVision, it cannot be the premise that's in the first season, right? Like we had to have a resolution on her holding a town hostage. Loki, however, has a very open ending. I really enjoy it. And for those who aren't Marvel fans, you thought Thanos was bad. Just wait till Kang gets started. Jonathan Majors as the He Who Remains, which is Kang is super comic booky. Comparing Kang to Thanos in level of comic bookiness is like comparing Guardians of the Galaxy to Iron Man. Like Iron Man is a comic book, but it's somewhat not realistic, but somewhat based in reality, and you can kind of follow along, except that it's not really a stretch of the imagination to imagine someone building an exosuit and flying around. Guardians of the Galaxy throws a tree and a raccoon. It's super comic booky. And Thanos, they kind of really simplified his motivations in the movies. His philosophy is a little more understanding. It's easy to comprehend because you have people who think like that in our own society, right? So, the overpopulation and whatnot. And so Kang, however, is just comic booky. He's a guy. They really nailed his origin. He is a scientist who figures out alternate realities and starts working with himself, basically. And then they try to take over the timeline, and you could be fighting him. He has aliases, so you could be fighting a totally unrelated villain, and you find out that it's actually a variant of Kang, who he sent back in time. I mean, he has an ancient Egyptian version called Rama Tut. He has a Mortis. He Who Remains. There are much different things that aren't even Kang. It's just random other villains that you find out later. There are versions of him that are heroes. They seem to be building towards the Young Avengers. The Young Avengers, they've set up Scott Lang's daughter, who is a Young Avenger in Captain America Winter Soldier. Isaiah Bradley has a grandson who is a Young Avenger. Ms. Marvel, who's getting her own show, is a Young Avenger. And the Iron Man version of the Young Avengers is Iron Lad, which is actually a young version of Kang that he sends back in time to try to mess up the Avengers. But he decides he doesn't want to grow up and be Kang, so he becomes a hero named Iron Lad. So, Kang is a complicated villain who could be the villain literally in every single Marvel movie in Phase 4, but actually be a different character. So I can see why someone like Jonathan Majors would want to play this character, because we're probably going to see just how good he is as an actor, as this character is used throughout the Marvel movies. So it's going to be really cool.
Jonathan Majors has been doing Lovecraft County on HBO. I haven't seen it yet. He popped up on everyone's radar during The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Where has he been before that?
I think The Last Black Man in San Francisco is his big debut.
Okay.
I have not seen that. Everyone has told me that is a must watch. But I really believe, I mean, he's got about 2, 3, 4 credits before Last Black Man in San Francisco, but they're small movies. Okay. And so now he's, the Five Bloods. I think Lovecraft Country was his big thing, and it's a fantastic show. Okay. Really disappointed they didn't get a second season, but that one season is a classic. Great show.
Did it leave the door open for another season, or is it pretty much a self-contained story?
Both. You can end the story. Good. You can end the story right there, but there were hundreds of directions they could have gone on. It's funny that he's playing Kang, because the Lovecraft Country in its science fiction did bring in the concept of alternate realities or alternate places to go. So they could have visited one of those realities or just went forward with the story. And the creator has shared parts of the season 2 Bible, so they were prepared. But I guess HBO elected not to move forward. So,
okay. What'd you think of the Black Widow?
I enjoyed it. Super actiony. Obviously good. Introducing Florence Pugh as the spoiler alert for everybody who hasn't seen it, but Florence Pugh is introduced as a new Black Widow, basically. We've always known. I don't know if it's been expressly said in the movies, but Black Widow is a designation, not necessarily a code name.
They definitely said it in the movie. I mean, it's the Black Widow program, but I think that's confusing for a lot of just the casual fans. They're like, well, no, this is the Black Widow, but like, oh, they all have the same uniform.
Yeah, she's a Black Widow. She's just the only. She's the only. She was just the only one working for SHIELD. So I don't think they've expressly said it in the previous movies that she was a Black Widow and not the Black Widow. But this movie makes that very apparent that she's a Black Widow. So I think they introduced Florence Pugh, David Harbour as the not the Crimson Dynamo, but
Red Guardian.
Red Guardian, who is so it's cool. Like they set up a bunch of teams, really expanded the universe, and I think people are like comic fans. Obviously, that's what Marvel does so good, because there's these things that comic fans see and can get excited about, and then people who aren't fans just get a really good movie too. So there's a cameo in there. There's actually the first mutant in the Marvel universe. Oh, the guy that David Harbour, or the Red Guardian, defeats in an arm wrestling match, who doubts that he's met Captain America. And he calls him a big bear. That is actually Ursa Major, who is a Russian mutant. So he actually has the ability to turn into a bear. He's part of a Russian Avenger team named the Red Guard, or the Winter Guard, excuse me. So
side tangent. Have you seen Guardians? Or I think that's what it's called, the Russian superhero film.
No, you know what? That's on my list. I need to watch that.
It's fun.
Okay, yeah.
I've seen it. It's fun. It's a nice tight 90 minutes, maybe even 89 minutes. It successfully tells the story of 5 characters coming together. Like at one point we tried to get a little deep, but even then that's just move it along, ninja. Come on. But they have a bear
over there.
Oh, a bear, character. A werebear, I should say. So he's already a super buff dude who's a scientist. And when, his natural human ability isn't enough, he turns into a werebear. So his top half's a bear, bottom half his legs, but he carries a Gatling gun. And then if that's not enough, then he just turns into a bear and just mauls everybody.
Awesome. Awesome.
You're just like, what is happening here? It's I think it's like $5 on iTunes. Yes, you should absolutely check it out.
Yeah, it reminds me of Night Watch, which is a great book by a Russian author, and they make those for some good Russian movies too. Those were great. Yeah.
So I saw this in the 4DX, and I've already talked about it in the previous Microdose, but I'm just being shook around the entire time. Like if a car hits a bump, the chair bumps. If the plane everything's shaking. There's an option to turn off water, which I was super stoked about. So we turned that shit off. But But like during the avalanche on the Russian prison,
Oh yeah.
like snow just shoots out of a fan randomly, and I was first
Oh
was like,
jeez.
wow, is that like styrofoam or is it snow? And I think it's just snow. Uh, if Scarlett Johansson's in a fight and someone punches her in the liver and she goes ah, like there's a hydraulic that punches you in the liver and then you go ah. 40X was a little too much for me, man. Yeah, I think I sent you a couple texts and I was just like, I feel like a toddler in a baby's high chair. This isn't okay. Like I feel really out of my element here.
Yeah, it was a good movie. Being a huge nerd for me, the Marvel movies are like pizza. Even when they're bad, they're still pretty good.
Okay.
So like I'm never gonna probably. They have yet to make a movie that's bad. They're still fun to watch, and it's cool to see the characters. I think we've discussed it before. The only movie I have a problem with is Captain Marvel, and it has nothing to do with the character herself or even the story. It's really just my problem with the treatment of the Rambeau family. So that's the only complaint I've ever had about any Marvel movie. So I definitely enjoyed it. I think it's a must watch. Obviously, I had my own feelings. I couldn't, my daughter's unvaccinated, so I did not take her to the movie theater to see it. But if you're vaccinated and you're able to go see it, I would definitely still watch it. It's a big action, some great set pieces. I would love to see those on the big screen. So I still really enjoyed it. I still give it a 7.5 out of 10. Was it fantastic? No. But we're seeing it way after we were supposed to. And it felt like we're seeing it out of order. I really wish they could have made this movie right after Civil War.
That would have been great, right? As I was watching it, I just treated it like this is that movie I somehow missed 6 years ago because of things. And thanks to that mentality, I was able to just go like, that's, solid movie, entertaining. It's still a formula, but that's why formulas work.
Exactly.
Do you think if this came out 6 years ago, would it have been better, or would it have been a better event even? Because these are still events.
It's hard. Not only are we seeing a character a movie that probably should have been made, before, but we're also seeing a character that's dead. It's really, really hard. Prequels are really, really tough to me. I'm not a huge fan of prequels. I figure if you're gonna do a prequel, it probably should be something like I know a lot of people hate these movies, but it should probably be like Star Wars, where it's years before, and you're only talking to like one character that what's gonna happen. Like we know it's literally about something. It's a question that's been asked, and we never got the full story of how Darth Vader fell to the dark side. Like we don't know that, right? We don't know everything. So you go back, like you don't want a prequel of Luke pod racing, right? Because we know he has to win. We know he's going to survive. Like with Star Wars, you have all these other characters that they make you care about, and whether or not we like the acting or we like the way the story turned out, at least there's a whole bunch of characters that you care about, and we're waiting for this thing to happen, and then we want to see what happens to them at the end. Maybe somehow they survive, maybe they don't. We don't know. But it answers questions and shows us a part of the story without being beholden to the stuff that comes after. With this one, it's totally beholden. We know that it's not a long time ago or somewhere far away or whatever. We know she has to survive here. It starts and ends with set pieces of her trying to get away from Ross. And we know she has to get away from Ross because she's on the run at the beginning of Infinity War. We know that no matter what, when she's swinging through the helicopter and being dragged over and trying to escape an avalanche, we know she has to survive because not only do we know she survived, we know she's going to die later. It's this. There's a certain amount of apathy that comes in there, And I think it would have been way more exciting to watch if it came out right after Civil War. It would have been way more exciting, But then again, you couldn't have Julia Louis-Dreyfus as a cameo in there.
Did we need that cameo though? Like, I mean, that cameo is specifically to sell the Hawkeye TV show.
Well, it actually, she's putting together the Dark Avengers. That's what's happening. Yeah, so I have a feeling that the next big, well, not big thing, I don't think there's going to be any necessarily big bad where all the space stories combined with all the Avenger stories where we get everybody on screen anymore. I think there's going to be kind of like separate stories. And I think like Kang's going to be fighting a subset of whatever Marvel heroes are out there. And but I think the next big Avengers story is the Young Avengers versus the Dark Avengers. Because
that sounds exciting, but
so like they've set up all the Young Avengers, and Allegra De Fontaine is actually basically a twisted version of Nick Fury, because she's got her fake Captain America, she's getting her fake, not fake, but dark Captain America, she's getting her dark Black Widow. We'll probably see she'll probably work with Ross to get Abomination, who will then be their dark Hulk, you know, and they'll keep on getting, like, I don't know. A cool thing to do would be, if they have the rights to Daredevil again, just get the guy who played Bullseye, and that could be your dark Hawkeye.
Nice.
You know, but we'll see. But she's putting together her own Avengers team that is morally questionable. And it may be up to the young Avengers, which are the actual scions of each Avenger, to stop. So I think we'll see that. But yeah, she's definitely a twisted version of Nick Fury, but she doesn't work until after Endgame, until there's really no more Avengers, you know, for her to take advantage of the situation. So yeah.
We got Shang-Chi coming up in 2 months. Thoughts, feelings? Are you looking forward to it? At what point do these just become like, oh, well, this is just another chapter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. I'm not a huge fan of Awkwafina, so I'm excited about everybody but Awkwafina. I think seeing Awkwafina on this cast is kind of like seeing, I'm going to date myself, but it's kind of like, to take it back to Space Jam, it's kind of like seeing Christian Laettner on the Dream Team. It's like, this is the greatest team ever assembled. Why is he there? But Shang-Chi is really good. It should open up a new corner of the Marvel Universe, and I'm really looking forward to seeing their version of the Mandarin. I love the idea of the 10 rings being bracers. That's super cool, because they were literal rings in the comics. So I think that would look a little too much like Thanos, another guy with like power on his hand. So instead of using the actual bracers that can be used in martial arts, which should lean towards the action in the movie, like, I think it should be exciting. It'd be really cool to see Marvel make a cool kung fu flick. Like, that's gonna be cool. I was talking to some of my friends, Asian friends, who are like, "Are you guys excited about this?" As like Black people were when, I mean, I knew kind of part of the answer before they answered, but you know, they were like, "Well, I don't think so, because you know, in America we kind of lump Asian people together, but this is a Chinese movie." So if you're Korean or Japanese, it's like, well, I mean, cool, but it's not us. You know what I mean? So, right. Yeah, you know, whereas with a movie that stars a Black cast, the borders don't matter as much, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be the cultural touch point that Black Panther was, but I still think it'll be a highly successful movie.
Okay. Speaking of kung fu films, today Snake Eyes comes out. Any thoughts, any feelings?
It's kind of snuck up on me. I haven't really paid attention, aside from the awesome little mini commercial they did where they made fun of the G.I. Joe PSAs in the whole cartoon. They have it's really good. They're like, Snake Eyes. He's like, I'm not Snake Eyes, I'm Henry Golding. And then proceeds to do like a bunch of ninja moves. It's really funny. It's really cute. But the one thing I will say is it has Larry Hama's seal of approval. Larry Hama enjoyed the movie. The creator of everything we love about G.I. Joe was pretty much that guy writing the Marvel comic in the 1980s. He basically wrote the Bible that gave each Joe their name. And he wrote the cartoon. Like, Snake Eyes is basically his character. So he has given it his seal of approval. He enjoyed it. So I'm going to vicariously say, hey, Larry Hama says go see it. I'm going to go see it.
Is that something you think you want to see in the theater this weekend, or even at all? Or are you just going to wait for the Netflix thing?
Yeah, there's a bunch of movies I would love to see in a theater. I just don't know if I'll have time or the inclination to go out to the theater. You know, if you go see it, man, I probably should call me, and I'll probably that'll probably get me out of the house. But yeah, it's definitely like all these big sci-fi action adventure movies. It's very lucky that the stuff I nerd out about is the stuff that you probably want to see in a theater. Like anything with a lot of special effects. You know, if Gone Girl came out today, I probably wouldn't go see that in the theater. But, you know, stuff like Snake Eyes, Black Widow, stuff with Shang-Chi with a lot of explosions, a lot of special effects, I think it's worth it. You know, that's worth the ticket price.
I think I'd be more excited about it if it was just called Electric Ninja Training, as opposed to trying to squeeze it into the G.I. Joe brand. And like, I keep thinking like, well, that's not Snake Eyes. And then I go, no, just, you know, you're going to be 43 this summer, to just shut. G.I. Joe has been like rebooted twice since you were a child 35 years ago. It's okay. Just shut up. It's a toy. That's all it is. So That's how I got through the first 2 G.I. Joe films. Like, people were trying to hate it, like, the RZA ain't training no one to be a ninja. Like, you know what? Shut up. That's a toy. We're not doing real ninja shit here, guys. It's fine. Anyways, I think this is a great place for us to end. Jaimel, you got anything you want to plug, please?
Go to mpccomics.com and pick up my latest series, Sun Lar. As you listen to this, the series should be complete. It's a 4-issue miniseries. Pick it up. Cool little comedy about an alien that passes his power to a drunken fry cook, and hilarity ensues.
That does sound fun. You, me, and director Len Kawasinski are going to get together at the end of this month, July 28th, for Sweet Science Cinema number 4, where the 3 of us are going to be talking Walter Hill's Undisputed. It's a great conversation. It's a not so great movie, but guys, tune in for it. You're going to enjoy it. Otherwise, check out the Waffle Box podcast. That's a non-BosNet event. Hey, let's have a lot of fun. That's every Wednesday. Me and friend of the family, Mike Fish. That's where you can find us. I've been Kush Hayes.
Been Jaimel Hemphill.
You've been you.
Microdose, 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 yeah, microdose.
From the BosNet family.
It's going to be really cool.